Jim Perry arrived in Bowie's Creek as a two-sport standout in basketball and baseball. However, it was on the diamond where he would make his mark on the professional level. Born during the Great Depression and raised on a farm in eastern North Carolina, Jim is the older of the only set of brothers in Major League history to win the Cy Young Award as the league's top pitcher. However, before the World Series appearances, Cy Young Awards, and 215 Major League victories, James Evan Perry Jr. completed his high school education and earned his degree from Campbell Junior College. My name is Stan Cole, class of 1987, and this is our next installment of Tales from the Creek, where we visit with people who have made this place special over the years. I'm delighted today to be joined by former Major League Baseball standout and longtime friend of Campbell University, Mr. Jim Perry. Welcome to Tales from the Creek, and thanks for taking time to be with us.
Thank you for having the time, and I'm glad to talk to you. We had some questions about my career. I hope I know them all. But if I hadn't, I brought my oldest daughter's husband here. He knows all of them. He just written a book for me, so you go back that many years, 56,
Yes, sir.
Time.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Tell us about what it was like growing up on a farm near Williamston. What were your days like?
My days were long. Get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, had tobacco out at the barn so you could put the other one in when you were quitting that day. And at 6 o'clock, we were out in the field, and I was out in the field getting tobacco, farming, and getting it in with your hands. And I stayed wet from the frost. I stayed wet till 11 o'clock that day in the field. And we did that many years. It's something that we made a living. And then I also, sometimes I had to go in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and clean up and go to Husky to pitch a ball game to make $10.
Wow.
Hey, over there where Catfish Hunter,
Yes,
before
sir.
he came up, I was over there. It was about 25 miles away.
Certainly.
So I was hard. I work, get up early in the morning, say I'm going out at night, and I said, no.
So going to school was a break for you and your siblings.
Yeah. It was a great. Well, I had good friends that were from East Carolina. The coach over there was good, and baseball junior college, and he was one that really brought me out here to Campbell. But winning the championship for the high school there when I was a junior, and my brother was in the 9th grade at the time, and the people told me, you won't have anybody to come back next year to see what you want to do, be in Major League, go and get and sign up. I decided to get ready to go, and they signed me up to go here to Campbell. That's one of the greatest things I made to do that. And then later on, it happened with my wife here of 62 years we've been here.
Wow.
So
Now, I understand that your father, Evan, was quite a baseball player.
he had a knuckleball, good knuckleball.
Did he introduce the game to you and Gaylord?
Yeah, we played, the brother, the dad, and I will play 1 hour we have at lunchtime. We go out and play ball. We never slowed down. Rather than go resting, we go out and play ball. We had one glove and one bat, and the guy that was pitching didn't have a glove. The guy in the outfield got the ball. That's what we lived, and we worked hard at it. And it's things that I went playing ball during the summer on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, was we used to have a bale of hay to put in the back of a truck. We'd always sit on this bale of hay to go 30 miles away to save money. Hey, the things you had to do, Absolutely. And I come up with some good ball players. We had 5 families that made up the team. 5 people. Yeah, we beat everybody. We beat everybody.
What were some of the lessons, the things that you learned from your father?
Well, as you work hard to get what you want to get in life, and what you do it right the first time. I had to come back and somebody else do it. He was the guy that put in the field with the mule horse with a plow. He'd make a straight line to probably 500 yards down there, and he want that thing to be straight. If he didn't straighten it, he'd come back with it and straighten it out, and everybody around there would have him to go out and do the field, get it lined up for him. I knew how to do all this stuff. He would call on me to do a lot of stuff. I did it fast, and I did it the right way. My brother, he didn't do it that way. Hey, he took his time. Oh God! But anyway, we were good. We worked hard at the stuff, and I done a lot of things that at the farm that did me about pitching and basketball. We didn't have any big basketball goals outside. We had a great big basket. Take the bottom out and put it up for the basket. Shoot for it. We just went. Then we got the net and stuff later on in life. But we didn't mind that. We knew what we had to do. We went out there and did it. And I think that just stayed with me all the time because I worked all the time. I could work all day and get 4 hours sleep and go. That's the way I was. And then getting in baseball, I had certain things that's a little different than playing in the pros or at college. But the best thing I did was move that senior year. The people there at Williamston invited me and told me to go to somewhere else if I want to make the major leagues. That's what my thing was do, is make the major leagues. So the guy brought me to Campbell University and put me off here, and my dad and mom was at home. And what he thought I was going to come there after the junior year, 2 years, I'd go to East Carolina. And then the Wake Forest coach, he was the same way. He come here in basketball. He thought I was going to go there. But I believe in working hard at all the stuff you have. The good Lord to give you the body to do that. I've been very lucky that nothing been wrong. I just had a foot problem, but gosh, I'm 87 years old, so I'm lucky that it's hard for me to stay down, not be out working on the yard or playing golf. I come out to be a pretty good golfer.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about how you and your wife Daphne met here at Campbell.
Well, she was from Roper, North Carolina, about 20 miles away from me, and I told her I never went down that neck of the woods.
Right.
See, I didn't go down. I met her with other cousin that was coming to school here. The lady was, her grandfather lived just down the road from me, and they come there, and she would ride back to school with me, and she come and rode back to school with me. For up here, she was a senior, second year, and Daphne was first year, so they got to be roommates, and so that's the way we got going. And she did 2 high school grades in 1 year here at Campbell. 2 years. She worked at it. She's with the choir. They went on different trips, so she did that, and then they rode back and forth weekends if I go home with me and come back.
Sure. Well, I understand she was on the basketball team as
Yep.
well. Was there a little bit of
The
competition
basketball was
there?
different. You never crossed the line. The guards were on one line, and then the other forwards on the other line. So she was on the guard side. So she did that, and they went to trips and on the trips with her, and we went and stayed in. We stayed in the gymnasium. They had rooms for us, and the girls went to the dormitory. Hey, we stayed in there, and they had room for them over there. So that's the way we met there, and going back and forth there. And I just believe one thing. What I did, I tell the other people. I tell his son is going to school and playing baseball. You go get yourself out there and get some money where you can buy a home and stuff and be there. That's what I told her. I said, I'm going to be in the big leagues 2 years before I decided to get married. I had that in my mind. She would have been married 2 years earlier, but I believe that you've got to do this to get yourself ahead. I know some guys the guy has 2 kids. He would go and borrow money in the wintertime on his next year's contract. How in the world can you get ahead in life that way? You can't do it. Right. I worked, and I had money all the way, and I paid my way. Dad, the only thing he gave me to come up here was gas under my car. Hey, I had the money that I made, and I saved it when I had to use it some places. So I believe that it's what you get out of life is what you put in it.
Go back to Bowie's Creek just a little bit. Who were some of the people around here that had an influence on you? I know that you played basketball for Fred McCall.
Fred McCall was great. I was over there. I was the boy of that family, the 3 girls. many times I went over there, my mom made on Sunday, she would make a meal for me to bring back, and we'd go to Coach's house and have it with the girls. Many times she does love to do that. But Coach, and then we had, Daphne had a good coach that did a good job, her playing. It helped her stay in good shape, and she liked school, and then she was a good student. She was in the music department.
Mm-hmm.
She went on these big places they went there, so she sang and went to choir. That was a good thing she had. She worked hard at it.
You started your professional career while you were still a student at Campbell,
Yeah.
and yet you came back even after your first year in the big leagues to finish your degree. What was the motivating factor behind that, Mr. Perry?
Well, I wanted to get to make a contract and stay busy and keep in shape, and I had promised the coach that we had this. If I signed a pro contract, I wasn't leaving. I was coming back to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I come back. I played basketball, playing with Cleveland for 2 years in the major leagues, and I came back here in the winter and played basketball. They don't do that anymore. But I stayed in shape and ready. I was in good shape when I left there to come here, just running, getting used to the hard floor. But I enjoyed it, and the people I met, and the school here at Campbell was a great difference in here. The students have all the things they have today, and I'm glad they have this today. That student union they have here is great. It's fantastic. They should have had it a long time ago. But coming here was a big break for me. Winning the state championship in Williamson, that put something in me to get a scholarship, here. And Coach, I'll tell you a story that happened to me. I was in Wilmington, North Carolina. We were playing. That was a tough team basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was on a Friday night, and Coach Davis was the driver for the bus. Well, what I did in high school, I drove a bus. When I was at the end of the line, I drove the bus to school
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, and then I would stay for basketball, and I had a guy to drive the bus back. All right, so I had license, and at night, the guys refused to come back with Coach McCall. Well, he'd be driving it like this, and on this side, they wouldn't drive. I drove the bus back. Hey, I mean, I remember that day I had 30 points that night. Played all night, and I had the guys feed me the ball. This guy we had was a guy from Kentucky, was kind of cross-eyed a little bit. And you kind of look him in the eyes, which way he's going. The guys, he'd go that way, and they'd go that way. Oh, it's funny. You wouldn't believe it. But it was a good shot, but he must have passed me 15 shots out of 30. Going down, which way he's going. But I had the guys who were great guys here to play basketball with. I get the rebound, I pass it out to the end. They'd be down and have it in the goal before I got halfway down there. And we had some guys that played hard, and it was just good to have that. And another thing, having here, I was glad that something I could do. My English teacher, Miss Chancellor,
Mm-hmm.
never forget her. She was a tough teacher, but anybody was not at the class. She asked me, "Where is he?" McCraney asked me, "He's sick. He was my roommate. He was sick." But they would always come to me. But she didn't like athletes. She didn't go to games. That year, I had her going to every game. She went to every basketball game we had here. And on top of that, Coach McCall had her buy a Roadmaster Buick. You seen a Roadmaster Buick?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she couldn't even drive. I had a car there, and I drove it from here to Wilson, North Carolina, and dropped her off there. Her brother was there, half fine.
Mm-hmm.
Drive her car there and leave it there, and I go with Daphne. We have my car, we go home and come back and drive back. There's some things that I'm proud I could do that had to help, and Coach knew I could help, that way.
Well, over the course of a 17-year major league career, your accomplishments are numerous. 3 All-Star game selections. You pitched in the '65 World Series, 1970 Cy Young Award winner. What are some of those highlights that you look back that we may not even know about?
Let's go back. I have the kids that send me letters. I was in 4 All-Star games.
Excuse me.
For the kids that still send that, because we had 2 All-Star games one day. The last year they had it, was in Boston and San Francisco.
Outstanding.
Did
So
I look it up?
4 games in over 3
that
seasons,
was 2
right?
All-Star games.
Absolutely.
And then 2 other separate, one was Cincinnati and Detroit. I was at Detroit when the guy hit one on the roof up there, Jackson.
Reggie
He
Jackson.
hit the lights up there, and he came back to second base. He did so hard.
Oh my gracious.
But I played in the last game. They had just one All-Star game after that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that I go back that I was proud that I had a chance to do that, and then to get to know Ted Williams too.
Sure.
I pitched against him 2 years.
And you've got a pretty good story to tell about Ted Williams, from what I understand, when you thought it was a strike and maybe it didn't get called sometime.
If he takes it, they don't call no strike on him. Hey, I don't care how the umpire, he wouldn't know it. But I got to know Ted pretty good because of the games we had, the old-timers games they call them,
Mm-hmm.
before the game.
Sure.
I got to know Ted pretty well, being in the outfield, had met, be talking. He talked baseball and fishing, he talked to you all day.
Yes, sir.
And we got to be good friends. And we trained in Washington, the manager, and it was 94 degrees outside. He had a jacket on. I never seen about that. A jacket, and he always have a jacket. I don't know why,
Mm-hmm.
but he had a jacket on to come out of the dugout.
Wanted to stay warm, I guess.
He did. But it's the stories I could tell about a lot of guys that there were great things that happened. But you might be asking me later on about the stuff with the strike of baseball. I can tell
Right.
you about that.
Well, how did that factor? How did you become the player rep
The
for the
players.
teams? They voted
players,
you on the
I
team.
was there 2 years. I was 15 out of 17 years I was a player rep.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some things that we had to do, but it's proud that the players thought that much of me, looking after them.
Over a career that spanned nearly two decades, you played with and against a number of Hall of Famers. Who were some of the toughest batters that you faced over your course of your career?
Ted Williams was tough, but he wasn't. He hit 233 off me. Now that's the young kids writing me letters. They tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
I know all that. 233. Mickey Mantle hit 133 off of me.
Wow.
All those years. Yogi Berra was the same, but Roger Maris was a tough out.
Mm-hmm.
Roger was up on the plate right here. He's right on top of it. His hands. You could put him inside, he still could pull the ball. Outside, he'd pull the ball. That year he hit the home runs. Oh, he was tough. The guy, long as he was tough, but Mantle wasn't that tough. As long as you threw the hard fastball to him, left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
I said it was left-handed, and then right-handed. He was a low ball hitter, but a high ball drinker. Oh God, I got along with him, but Mantle and Yogi were good friends of mine. They'd asked, my son Chris was in the pro tour at that time in golf, and they would ask me about him before they say hello to me.
How about
They
that?
followed him all the way. And Mantle, he had a tournament to hit that ball, long ball. He said, "I know you hit the ball out there, but wait, I haven't been by there yet." He hit the ball 30 yards past me every time. It was hit. But you go to these games and you see the guys that's on the other side
Mm-hmm.
that you make friends. But when you go on the field, they're your enemy.
Sure.
The umpires watched us pretty closely. 30 minutes before the game, you couldn't talk to the other. You're not allowed to talk to them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, that you could talk to them before that, but not the last 30 minutes. Yeah, we had rules we had to go by. Wear the hat. I never wore a hat except the hat when I wore when I was pitching. The guys said, "Put your hat on." All the time the guys asked me, I wouldn't have my hat on. Maybe that's why I still got the hair.
That seems like.
But it's a lot of
good
things
reason
that
to
you get extend from people to what you do. You see the thing that you can do and get by with, or not trying to get by with. I just didn't like to wear a hat,
Right.
you know. And but I just had some good players to play with
What-
Roger Carew and Tony Oliva. Tony Oliva was he came in the first year he came back in the majors. He won the batting crown. And people know that. The first year he won the batting crown. And I hit so many fun goal balls to him out in the outfield. He couldn't understand English. He couldn't speak. English. I put my hand like that means back. I'm gonna hit the ball. Oh, this way. I'm gonna hit the ball this way. This way. I have arm. He go get them.
Sure.
And Billy Martin was when I was with Billy everywhere. Billy had me do everything. I think, I got along with Billy.
Mm-hmm.
He come out with me and asked me, "Now look, tell me the truth. Now it's 8th inning. You all right?" He goes the other way. I tell him yes, and I think maybe twice I told him I had thrown about 140, 50 pitches, and that's a whole game for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that. He knew that after that it would lose because I put everything I had in it, fastball, and he had somebody ready to go in.
Absolutely.
But I had many times the reliever helped me save, but I had some relievers mess up my game. I had some games that I was four runs up on the other team and had 2 innings to go. They messed it up. I had a chance to win 25 games, and the guy messed it up. Yeah. I mean, this happened at Trine, and my old roommate, Al Worthington,
Mm-hmm.
relay pitcher, he's the one that he did some good things for me, and the other guys did some good things for me.
You mentioned Maris, Mantle, some of these others, great hitters, Tony Oliva, of course. What were some of the best pitchers you faced in your career?
Best pitchers?
Yes.
Tom Sievers was tough. The guys at Baltimore, they had tough. They had 4 starters over there, 20 games.
Palmer, Cuellar, Dobson, and McNally.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
4 of them. That's tough. You get till you pitch. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to give a low score 1 or more 2 runs. You got a loss.
Right.
And that's the way I go out there. I'm going hard. If I go 4 or 5 innings, it's going to be hard going. But they were the toughest pitchers any team had. We had some guys on the team. Other places were good hitters, But one of the better hitters, probably his pinch hit more, that was on my team, was Jim Cott,
Mm-hmm.
left-hander. He probably pinch hit more than any other pitcher in the major leagues. That's before we had they could go and you have a guy in there when the pitcher still had to hit, had the designated hitter.
Right.
But he come in and pinch hit. I had one time I was up to hit pinch hit, and the last guy made it out, so I didn't get in to do that. I took notes down in my little black book. I still have that.
Mm-hmm.
A back book and about things. I got Teddy Williams in there. I said, I pray to help he don't hit a home run. It was tough, but I enjoyed doing that and keeping the record. But I had an old head on a young body. How you used to say that. I just studied the guys because I had to pitch against them.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother was in San Francisco, and he would tell me if a guy come over here to play, he'd tell me how he pitched him. And I do the same thing with him over there. A guy goes in there, so we help each other doing that. And I just asked the question to the guys, the pitching coach or the manager, well, how you want to pitch this guy today? They find out some things, and they knew I could do it,
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Perry, I know we're running short on time together, and I would love when you come back in the fall, we can sit down and put together a bigger block of time. Because I could stay here literally all night, but we've got other things. You've got other things that you've got to get to today. But I just 1 or 2 more questions. Over the years, you and Daphne have been generous supporters of Campbell. Our baseball team's named for you. The Pavilion that houses the team facilities and offices and clubhouse bears yours and Daphne's names. What are some of the reasons that you've chosen to share your resources with Campbell?
Well, the treatment that I got here in school, that they had things there, scholarship for me, and what I appreciate what they did for me. I never had that come up from the farm and doing all this stuff and going back. They did a lot of great things, and the coach, I had a great call. He said if I had a place to stay, I could always stay at his house. And then the president of the school, he had his house. He said, you come to my house to stay. They were just like that to help you to stay here and do a good job. And it was just something that I enjoyed doing this for what Campbell did for me. And I've given him some money in a long time, but I'm proud of what I did helping get that artificial grass out there. I had a great deal of helping get that. When Houston came in, the story about it take a while to do that, but I helped get that that turf was a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
I got Houston to pay for all that.
Well, I'm Stan Cole, and our guest today on Tales from the Creek has been Jim Perry. Thank you, Mr. Perry, for sharing some of your tales from the creek.
Thank you for having me on there, and I look forward to coming there. Homecoming, we're going to be back here for the homecoming.